Am I the butthole? Am I the butthole? A throwaway 329 says. Am I the butthole for insisting my partner skip a work event? I 32 female, have been with Paul 34 male, for 4 years. A year ago we were in a car accident. Paul was driving, and 100% at fault. Paul had no injuries, but I broke my back. I was in a back brace for months, and I'm still going to part. After I was out of the brace I started going to the gym and running, and at this point I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. I'm really proud of the progress I've made. A month ago I found out that there was a 10k race on the 1-year anniversary of the accident in a mountain town about 3 hours away. I thought this would be a fun and positive way to spend the day and celebrate my recovery. I suggested this idea to Paul, my 2 best friends, and their partners. The plan was to drive there Friday afternoon, run the 10k Saturday morning, and spend the rest of the weekend exploring the town. Everyone was on board. Paul recently started a new job. It's fully remote, and he hasn't met his coworkers yet. He is supposed to fly to SF to meet his team the Monday after our weekend trip. We knew this when we made our plans. A few days before our trip, Paul told me his bosses now want him to be in SF on Sunday because they got box seats to a Giants game and they want him to come, so he would no longer be able to come on our trip. I thought he was joking because he makes fun of corporate kiss ass culture, but he was serious. I told him to explain the situation and that they can't expect him to be available with less than a week's notice. He said he had already told them yes, and he didn't want to backtrack. So I asked him to tell them he forgot he had a wedding to attend or something like that, and he said he didn't want to turn down the offer because it would be a really good networking opportunity. I suggested he join on Friday as planned and drive back late Saturday or early Sunday to catch his flight. He said no because he didn't want to drive 6 hours round trip just for one day. I suggested he fly out of the regional airport nearby, which he also shot down because it would be too expensive. He makes good money, so this won't be a financial burden. I was almost in tears at this point, pleading him to come and telling him how important it was to me. When I realized he wasn't going to budge, I stopped trying to convince him, but I did let him know I was hurt and angered by his decision. The morning I was supposed to leave, Paul was trying to be affectionate and sweet towards me, but I'm still pretty upset, so I was admittedly pretty white to him and rejected all attempts at affection. Now he's upset with me for ruining our last day together and also for pressuring him to skip his work event. I think he's an asshole for prioritizing a baseball game over a celebration of my recovery, especially considering he's the one that caused my injury in the first place. My friends are on my side, but I'd like some unbiased perspective. West_map 4218 says. NTA on the initial part, but then you said especially considering he's the one that caused my injury in the first place. That sounds really nasty. Guilt tripping him for the rest of your life with him won't be good emotionally. Is the whole celebration of your progress a moment to rub his nose in the fact he caused it? Good luck. Am I the butthole? Throwaway 329 says. I realize how that comes across, but I do want to say I never said or implied that to Paul. It was basically minor monologue. I'd be lying if I said there weren't any resentment issues from the car accident, but it's something I'm working through. The celebration is exactly that. It was a really shit year for me. I was unable to work for 6 months. I was in an unbelievable amount of pain. I wanted to celebrate how much progress I've made, and that's always how I framed it to Paul. It was never an intent to guilt trip him. JJ Gons says. Right or wrong, resentment is obvious as a guilt trips. Beck 2010 says. Op, you are a much bigger and nicer person than I am. Not once did you remind him that the trip was to celebrate your progress in recovery after he broke your back. I would have. Having said that, he was provided a couple of alternatives that were more than reasonable. And why is he paying for a flight/travel for business? NTA. But he has shown you where you rank in his priorities. I would imagine if you look back in your relationship you'll find you've taken the backseat more than not. Am I the butthole? Throwaway 329 says. Opinions seem to be pretty evenly divided. I do want to clarify a couple things. I never tried to get Paul to come by saying or implying the injury was his fault. Yes, I was thinking it, but I've never used that against him. There are obviously resentment issues, which is something I'm working through, but I would never say that to his face. A lot of people are saying AITA because I was pressuring him to skip his work event. When I realized how important it was to him, I tried to compromise with him to be able to make both events happen. It was his refusal to compromise that was upsetting. r/am I the butthole? Thrower_S18vu says. Am I the butthole for wanting to uninvited husband's groomsman after finding out his creepy crush? Soden was actually kind of the reason I met my husband and has been friends with both of us. My husband chose him as one of his groomsmen. We already got courthouse married, that's why I'm saying my husband. Anyway, Dan has met my brother's girlfriend only a handful of times recently, but they used to be very close in high school and may or may not have hooked up back then. My husband said he's pretty sure they did. So one of the reasons my husband and I got courthouse married first is that my brother is not going to be able to attend the wedding due to non-negotiable working out of the country. So tonight I walked in on my husband and Ann talking, and Ann was saying really inappropriate things about my brother's girlfriend, and my husband was saying, "Shut up man, you're drunk, don't talk like that." But basically he was saying how he's going to use my wedding, which girlfriend will be at, as a chance to make his move. Everyone will be drinking, etc, and my husband was saying, "Nah man, don't say that, and that's messed up bro, and you need to back off," and stuff. So I walked towards them when my husband was getting kind of loud and then eavesdropped, and that's how I heard. So now I'm saying to my husband, WTF, and Dan needs to not be invited to the wedding and certainly not be a groomsman. But my husband is saying you're overreacting, and I said, has he said that stuff before sober? And my husband confirmed never like that, but he's made it pretty clear he's still into her. So now my husband is saying we can't kick him out of the wedding, but he'll talk to him and make it clear he needs to not be saying that stuff, and I'm saying no, hes out, and my husband is saying he sees where I'm coming from, but he doesn't want the drama and we need to think about it. Am I the butthole? Just some episode says. NTA, men need to be responsible for ending predatory behavior. Twinkalicious says. He is showing clear predatory behavior here even drunk, and it was confirmed he acts similarly while sober, and mentioned how he will make a move on her at the wedding party and states that everyone will be drinking. That is a broad statement to make, and Op has every right to be concerned for the woman's safety. For all she knows, dude bro over here is gonna drop a date rape drug in her drink. Op is NTA. Griffin 880 says. This is a tough one. I'm leaning towards NTA though. If you don't outright kick him from the wedding, at the very least appoint your biggest friend or family member to remove him from the reception if he crosses that line even once, even just a little bit. Thrower_S18vu says. Yeah, I'm also struggling with if I should say something to my brother or her. If Dan still comes, I'm definition bringing it up with her. Griffin 880 says. I'd for sure bring it up to her. You may find out Dan has done or said some creepy shit to her in the past. If she isn't 100% comfortable with him coming, I'd say that's the ball game for old Dan. As far as telling your brother, I'd leave that up to her as well. You don't need to dredge up a past your brother may or may not be familiar with. Could be totally fine, could be uncomfortable for one or both of them. I'd just let her make that call. Also, your husband may want to let Dan know that, if there is even a hint that he is being weird about this at the wedding, he is out in the curb. Personally, I really doubt Dan is gonna be able to make it through the entire wedding without saying something. He's gonna make a little comment about their past in front of your brother, and it's gonna frick up your brother's night. I suspect your husband knows this too, but doesn't want to do the very uncomfortable task of telling Dan he is out, so he is pretending it won't be an issue. Fortunately, it's kinda fun to be the person tasked with running interference at the wedding. I've been the one tasked with dealing with a similarly uncomfortable situation at a wedding. A couple of firm grips on the shoulder, and steering the person away was all it took. But it was fun to pretend to be security for a night. r/am I the butthole? Virax North says, am I the butthole for skipping out on family events because I would have to babysit my cousin's kids? I 29 male am my grandmother's oldest grandchild, and as such, I was stuck looking after my little cousins at family gatherings my whole childhood and young adulthood. This was never really an issue for me, as I generally like kids and my cousins were really fun to hang out with. Unfortunately, when my cousin Amy 27 female got married and had kids of her own, 4 meters and 2F, she assumed that I would take up the position of default babysitter for them. I was not okay with this, and I told her as much, but she just kept pawning them off on me. I'm too non-confrontational to put my foot down directly, and the pandemic hit, so it became a non-issue anyways. Since we've started to have big gatherings again, I had to find excuses to miss family events. Usually that I was showing COVID symptoms, or that a friend/coworker had it. Recently, my mom confronted me about avoiding family, and I told her the real reason. She said she understood, and that she'd talk to Amy about it. I didn't ask her to. I don't need my mom to solve all my problems lol, but she's a family diplomat/busybody. It's what she does. Well, apparently Amy just had to gossip to the rest of the family, and now I'm getting calls and texts from family basically saying that I'm selfish, and that I hate my cousin's kids. I don't, and how dare I make my family worry about me, just because I won't suck it up, and watch the kids for a few hours. That point has made me start to think, so am I the butthole? Parsimonious Salad says, NTA. Every single person who has contacted you can step in as default babysitter themselves. Point that out to the family. This is not your job in the family any more than it is this. Amy can take care of her own children. Master_reflection 579 says, agreed, and don't forget to thank them for volunteering their time to babysit. Opus. NTA. Cauliflower Tall 1985 says, NTA. Amy can watch her own kids. The audacity that your cousin assumes you'll forever be the family babysitter is wild. At least now you don't need to make excuses anymore for not attending as free childcare. Imo, they are all selfish for not stepping up themselves to help her out with her kids. AQ says, NTA, I'm getting calls and texts from family basically saying that I'm selfish, and that I hate my cousin's kids. I don't, and how dare I make my family worry about me, just because I wouldn't suck it up, and watch the kids for a few hours. So they're fully admitting to your face the reason why they want you there. If anything, this should be solidifying your decision to no attend. You've set a boundary and now they're all giving you shit for it, and expect you to fall in line, and do whatever the hell they want you to, the way they are used to you doing it. Frick all that noise. Dude, you're a 30-year-old man and an invitation is not a summons. Go hang with people that want you there for you, not for what you can do for them. Hard_tyrant_dinosaur says, here's the really head-shaking part to me. Multiple family gatherings have occurred that Op made excuses to get out of. Gatherings that the cousin and her kids were presumably at. They're not saying, hey man, it's all good. The kids are covered and we miss you. I.e. that because Op hasn't been around, a new normal now exists that doesn't involve him as childcare. They're saying suck it up. Either because they've been doing the sucking it up themselves and don't like it, or nobody's been doing it and they like it even less. They know exactly what these gatherings have been like without him and are just trying to rope him back into kid duty instead of them. They're probably as bad or worse at telling cousin to mind her own kids as Op was originally. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.